now I want to go to the calendar settings, which you can get there two ways. You can go to calendars and then settings, or you can go to settings and then calendars. Take you to the same place. Now you'll notice it'll default with 2 sales calendars as well as a production calendar. If you needed to make a new calendar, always choose a round robin calendar. You'll notice there's a lot of other calendars, but for right now, just choose the round robin calendar. And right now, we have a good system set up for sales and doing estimates, but the production is not set up well yet. That's something we're working on and we'll roll out later. What I personally use for my business is I use the Google Calendar for our production. We essentially have 3 calendars: our interior commercial north, interior commercial south, and exterior production schedule. And I just use Google Calendar for all of our scheduling. We pull that information into the CRM so we can view it there, but my PMs never really look in the CRM. They're always just looking at Google Calendar. I can make an entire video on this just to show you my own personal production system. But my point is, in the CRM, I don't actually use it for production, but I am building out a system for that, and we'll roll that out eventually. So for the rest of this video, I'm specifically going to show you how we set up sales and book all our estimates through the CRM. So yeah, they're all round robin calendars. If you need to add another sales guy, just select round robin. And I would change this to be the salesperson that you're going to be using. So we're going to press the 3 dots here and go to edit. If you were to create a new calendar, this is the first page you'd see. So I would change this to the estimator's name. So in this case, I'm going to use myself as an example. So I'm going to put Shane's Estimates. The description, you can change the description and it's up to you. I'm going to show you how my company does it. We don't actually have our clients book their own estimates. We set them up on the phone, which I do believe is the best way to set them up. The initial phone call is one of the most important parts of a good sales process, but you could do that if you wanted to. Basically, you could send your clients a link and they could pick an estimate time that works for them, which can be helpful, especially if you don't have an office administrator to help you with this. But essentially, the description is something they could see, but that's pre-written in there for you. All right, and then for group, you want to make sure it's under sales. If you're making a new one, I would put it under sales. This is helpful for automations. You can say specific things like all sales calendars, when this happened, does do this, and that will definitely be helpful when we roll out the production and have production calendars. So put it under sales. Now for the custom URL, you can make it whatever you want. So if this was me, I'd probably put something like that, or I would just get rid of the underscore. Really doesn't matter, but you can customize it if you'd like. And what we have defaulted in here is it's going to show the contact's name. So if we set this up for Jim Morrison, it would say Jim Morrison, and then in parentheses next to it, it would say the city he lives in. So Jim Morrison, city name. You can change this to whatever you like. That's just what we like for the title of the estimate. All right, so for team members, you're just going to put whoever's calendar this is. So I'm going to put my name there. For priority, you don't have to worry about this. It's for if you wanted to have 2 people here and you wanted like 50%, or you wanted someone to have higher priority. I don't recommend that. You know, if you do have a large company and you separate things more by geographical area and have people share calendars, you could, but I would still suggest each person has their own calendar to keep it nice, simple, and easy. So it doesn't matter what priority you put because we're only putting one person there. Now for the meeting place, I would go with custom, and we actually want to put in the address of the contact. So be careful. You might think full address works, but this is actually, when it says location.full address, that's going to be your address, and you are not going to be meeting the clients there. So what we actually want to use here is the contact's full address. So I'm going to change this to contact.full address, and I'm going to press save. All right, now I'm going to skip the availability. We're going to come back to here after I'm done going through the rest of the settings, because I have a whole section on how we're going to adjust availability in our calendar. So forms and payment, this is, again, if you're going to actually have them go to a link to set up their own estimate, this is when they would see that. So if you're never really going to do that, not a big deal, but there is a default form, which I would suggest. But if you want to customize it to be your own, you can create your own form, and then it'll show up in this drop down and you can pick it. Pre-populate sticky fields. Basically, if it's a return client, when they go to do this, it's going to pre-put in their name and all that. So I always leave this on. The consent checks box, I recommend it to be A2P compliant, but you can turn that off if you like. We don't want add guest on because we don't want them to add guest. If you really wanted to, you could. Maybe they would add a husband or a wife, but I would suggest leaving it off. The confirmation page, I would leave it to default, But if you want to have your own URL you want them to direct them to, you can. And what's really nice is you can actually put your Facebook pixel here. If you have a funnel where the funnel ends with this calendar event and you want to kick back to Facebook, letting them know, hey, this was a conversion, you can do that. That's some advanced marketing stuff that if you have no idea what that means, no worries at all. That's normal. But if you get deep into marketing, it is cool that that's available for us. This auto confirm new calendar meetings, honestly, I don't use it because we set all of ours by phone. But if you did use the option to send a link to your clients where they set up their own estimate, if you turn this on, it's basically going to be just automatically confirmed, set and go. If you leave this off, when a contact books an estimate through a link, that appointment will show up as unconfirmed until you manually confirm it. Payments I would leave off. If you want to charge for estimates, you could turn that on. That would be a bold move, but I don't know of any painting companies doing that. All right, so for notifications and additional options, this first part here, we don't use that. It does default to the acknowledgement email if you wanted to use it, but since we set all ours by phone, we don't actually send out a notification from here. We do send out a pre-estimate packet that has a lot more information, but I do that through an automation, not here, but you have that available to you. And if you were to go into emails and create one, they would pop up here. But who should receive it? Contact the assigned user. Additional emails, you can put them in. You have that there for you. I would use this if it was, say, you're sending it to them and they're signing up. I might want to know about it, where I could use assigned user or additional emails. My point is, though, I would recommend setting them by phone and you don't have to set this up. Now, this is pretty important. Allow Google or Outlook Calendar to send an invitation and update emails to attendees. You can turn that off if you don't want that, or leave it on if you do. Now, assign contacts to their respective calendar team members each time an appointment is booked. If you turn this on, what will happen is as soon as the appointment is set under a calendar, whoever that appointment is set for, so whatever estimator, it will immediately make the contact owner the estimator. So if it's just you, it doesn't matter if this is on or off. If you are working in teams, most of the time I recommend turning this on because I do think it's a good, easy way to do it. And then if you have special setups where possibly sometimes you might want a bit of a delay there, you can do this in an automation as well. But this is just an easy way to do it without setting up an automation. So whatever makes most sense for you and your company. If you're not sure, I would go ahead and just turn this on right now. All right, this cancellation and reschedule, you can turn these on or off. We don't like to have reschedule on because we want to make sure if there's a reschedule, it's done by a phone. We do leave on the canceling because if they want to cancel, that's fine. And essentially what happens when they cancel, there'll be a cancellation link in their calendar invite. If they click that link, it'll take them to another page and they have to enter a reason before they can press save. And what that does is it kicks it back to the reschedule lead stage. So then our office or whoever is handling the leads will see, oh, there's this reschedule one. They'll check that reason, whatever they entered in, which also gets emailed out. But then if it's something like, oh, forgot I had a kid's baseball game and that's why they canceled, then yes, we should try to reschedule it. But if it was something like, already signed up with a painter and they just painted my house today, then it's like, yeah, we can just discard that and move it to a lost lead stage. But if you are allowing your customers to just go to a link and set up their own estimates, maybe you want to have the reschedule on, maybe you don't want them to have the option to cancel, in which case you can just turn that off. So this is what's actually going to show up in the calendar event. So if you open up on Google one of your estimates, in the description right here, this is what it's going to say. And it'll also be if you're inviting them to the calendar event in their description as well. So we put in estimator's name, their phone number, an email. We say if something comes up and they need to cancel, click that link. And then at the bottom, this is for the estimator. We have contact name, phone number, email, and then the link to that contact so that the estimator can just click this link and go see everything they need to see about the contact. But if the contact clicks the link, it'll just take them to a login screen and they won't be able to see anything. So if there's any sensitive information that we don't want the client to see, but we want to know, it's still tied into the calendar. But I wouldn't put anything that you don't want the client to see. Like if you put the description in here and somebody wrote, this client seems difficult, that would not be good for a difficult client to see. All right, customizations is where you can change the look of the calendar if you're going to send a link for the calendar. So if you want to use this preview or send a link, you might notice you get a 404 page. And in order to not get that, you actually first need to make the calendar active. So you'll notice they'll default to draft, and you can click here and click activate calendar. If you don't do that, what you're going to see when you try to use a link is something like this, where it's going to say page not found. But if you activate it, and now if I go to share and copy this link, paste it in a new tab, you'll see it brings up a calendar event. So if we go back to edit, customizations, you can also click this preview window to see how your changes are looking, but there's a lot of different things you can change. You can add a cover image. There's a couple different styles to choose from. You can change the primary color, the background color, what the button text says. Change this to estimate. Turn off the title, description, or details. You can also enter custom code if you like and preview your changes here. Even if you don't do anything, you'll see it's not bad looking. Looks pretty good actually, I'd say. But if you want to customize it to your liking with your color and brand, this is where you would do it.